Actually, I left medical school not knowing what I wanted to pursue. I had all of the fancy things, all of the fancy cars, because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. My heart is so not in this. My soul is not aligned with this. There has to be something else. Wait, you did all of this stuff and you're not even 40 yet? And I'm like, yeah. And in the parking lot of that art gallery, I saw my future husband.
Latha Jay. She is a certified health coach, author, and manifestation maven.
I diligently knew that this person was coming for me. It's like you can make a choice, live a certain life, and guess what? When you no longer want to do that and you want to change it, you can shift to something else.
Oh, snap. That's the ninja move.
The guy behind me just kind of looked at me, he's like, ah. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know about buying you dinner around here, but I would love to make you dinner sometime because I'm a professional chef.
That is a crazy freaking story. That is a crazy story. Hello, welcome back to Getting Open with me, Andrea Miller. Guys, if you want to live your life on your own terms, if you want to tap more powerfully into that powerful intuition inside of you, for the ladies, if you want to leverage and relish your feminine energy, honestly, guys, if you want to call in the one or even live in Fiji for 5 weeks out of the year, the show is for you. My guest is incredible in what she has achieved for herself, what she teaches people. Dang, guys, we all have more power than we realize to live the life of our dreams. That's what today's show is about. Let's get into it. I am so excited to introduce my guest, Latha Jay. She is a certified health coach, author, and manifestation maven who shines where science meets soul, with a master's degree in Ayurvedic science and integrative medicine, and her transformative 24/7 manifesting method. Latha blends modern insights with traditional wisdom. She guides her clients and her gigantic social following. It is so fun. It is so cool. You guys have to check her out on Instagram and TikTok to push their limits, create new possibilities, be courageous in their choices, and to choose powerfully. Welcome, Latha. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Okay, yes, same. And you have such a, really super interesting background for many reasons. But let's start with the fact that you started on the science and medicine track and made a very bold move to actually leave medical school to pursue manifestation and spirituality. Now, I feel like they're inextricably linked in so many ways, but a lot of people will be like, nah, they're totally different. So why did you make that choice, and do you regret it? Do you feel like you made the right decision for yourself?
Yeah, Andrea, actually, I left medical school not knowing what I wanted to pursue. So I had no idea what was next.
Okay.
And I just kind of stepped into this space where manifestation and spirituality felt natural. When I was in medical school, it felt so unnatural for me. It felt like I was up against resistance every single day, that I was fighting against something. I was constantly feeling exhausted no matter what. It felt like I was running a marathon every day, even if I was just sitting around, not doing much. Even if it was a day off or I was away for a week, I knew I had to come back. And there was this internal resistance for me that I just pushed through for years and years and years. But in my last year of medical school, I really couldn't push through it anymore. I just said,
wow, you got to your last year. I didn't realize you'd gotten that far. Oh, girl, that takes guts. That takes cajones.
Yeah, I did.
Like, Mom, it's not cajones. I'm like, yeah, but it's funny when you say it like that. But that is a couple of the things you just said. Like, you felt that inner resistance, which a lot of us feel and we ignore. And I'm raising my hand over here as somebody very type A, hyperachievement focused, right? It's like, I'm going to overcome resistance because I gotta. So I want to come back to that. And you did something incredibly brave. You listened to your intuition. Did you always have that kind of strong intuition guiding you? Or was it just finally like, I've never listened to it and now I'm finally going to listen to it?
I always felt I had some intuition kind of running in the background, But at different times in my life, I gave it more credit and maybe listened to it a lot more than others. Because for me, I was like, going into medical school, my parents really wanted me to become a doctor. Both of my sisters went to medical school, and I was just like, it's just what we do, like just do it, push through it. You're in your last year, you're in your second year, you're in your first year, whatever I had to tell myself, I was telling myself until I got to a point where I was just like, my heart is so not in this. My soul is not aligned with this. There has to be something else, even though I had no idea what was next. I had no idea what else there could possibly be, because really since birth, I've always been trained to go into medicine. My one of my first jobs was working at a doctor's office. I was a candy striper. I was a volunteer. For Halloween, I dressed up as a doctor. That was just what I did. Our conversations at home with both of my sisters and my parents were both in the medical field. My father was a pharmacist, was always around medicine. So that's just what I knew. So it felt natural for me to go into it. But once I was in it, I felt very strongly that I wasn't meant to be there.
And what was the journey from leaving medical school? First of all, how did your family respond? And then how did you then end up as a healer? Because you are a healer.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a firm believer that I come from a long line of healers, right? So my grandmother, my great grandmother, all of them were like folk medicine women, essentially. And then when my parents, got a little bit more modernized and educated, they went into healing, but maybe in a less traditional sense, more westernized sense, through schooling and pharmacy.
Yeah, more allopathic versus more naturopathic or Ayurvedic, which we'll get into.
Yes, exactly. So when that shift kind of happened, I think the root of it is still that desire to heal and that energy and ability to really heal and serve people. And that's what I've always been in touch with. But when I had gotten into medical school, I realized it was just totally not in alignment with me. So coming from a very medical minded family, you can probably guess that they were pretty upset when I decided to leave medical school. But one of the things that I did for me was I did not tell them until I was ready to tell them. So I had left, and I actually went and lived on a farm for a little bit to get my head kind of sorted and right. And it was only after that period that I actually built up the courage to talk to them about this and just let them know, like, hey, this isn't for me. And yes, they were upset about it, but also they were kind of like, we knew, but we'd hope you got through it kind of thing. You were always the kid that was a little bit different. So we knew this might not be the path for you, but you were so excited about it. We just kind of wanted to usher you through. So after having these conversations, it was just like mind opening for me. Like it really like opened something for me to understand that my parents could see something and were hoping for something, but kind of understood like, hey, this is like a round peg trying to go through a square hole. It's not going to work,
Oh my God. I just want to give the biggest hug and shout out to your parents. Like, as a mom of kids that are 15 and 12, and having seen so many parents, oh my God, it breaks my heart. So many parents reject their kids' decisions, who their kids are, right? And whether it's due to their career choice or their educational choices or, sexuality, or they're more, musical than they are athletic or whatever. Like, I love it that your parents came around. I mean, props to them and all parents listening. Like, come on, we've got to honor our kids. And the fact that, I think our job as parents is to do what your parents did with you. Raise a person with agency who knows herself, like snap. And you have kids. So has that impacted how you're raising your kids?
Oh, absolutely. I have 3 wonderful children. I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So they're in this space of really like exploring and figuring out who they are. And I just kind of hold space for them to do that in freedom and not really put concerns of, hey, what's next? What do you want to be when you grow up? We don't really have those conversations, but we do talk about like, hey, what do you enjoy doing? For my eldest daughter, she loves horses. She loves animals. And we've talked about different careers that she could possibly work with animals, not saying like you must be a vet or you must be an equestrian trainer or anything like that. It's just like, hey, these are the options. Look at this, and she'll even come to us and say, hey, what about this job? What is this like? What do I do here? And I love that. And I love it. Like, it's just open for them to kind of explore and see what fits them the best.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such a potent, powerful reminder that our jobs as parents is really like shepherds and guides, right? Rather than trying to mold them into a form that serves our egos, right? And we've all made that mistake. But good for you, because it takes a lot of courage to choose what is in your heart. And a lot, I mean, so like props to you, props to your parents. So let's go a little bit further into, so you said this wasn't, I'm dying over here. I can't stand this track. I'm not being true to myself. And, I think to me, again, in the spirit of making the decision to be true to yourself is one of the greatest decisions we can make as humans. Absolutely. And as a mom, right? So that your kids get that energy. It's just awesome. So then how did you go from the farm, coming clean, to having this incredible business, this incredible opportunity to reach out and help and heal so many people?
Yeah. So when I had returned back to New York City, my parents were gracious enough to let me crash in their house again, which was really like, I look back on it and I understand that so many parents probably wouldn't have even done that and been like, figure it out. Like, you're a grown up now and you just, throw away 7 years of your life. And they were pretty upset about it, but they were like, all right, so now what? And that was kind of the thing. They were like, come back home, figure yourself out. And that gave me a lot of really like a safety net to then be able to kind of explore what now, what's going to happen. And during that time, I always describe it as throwing spaghetti against a wall, because I feel like I did everything and anything trying to figure out what exactly would stick for me. I became a yoga teacher. I studied meditation. I started a fashion company. I went to FIT. I went to fashion school. I worked in tech. I did every job you could think about. And then every single thing that I stepped into, I would take little notes about it and said, I really loved these aspects of it. I really didn't like these aspects of it. And as I went from job to job to profession to, different skill set that I was learning, I would continue to just look at these notes and say, wait a second, I can see that I loved working with people. I loved working with people. I love working with people. Oh, and I can see that I really didn't like X, Y, and Z. I didn't like it here again. I didn't like it here. And it was almost just kind of like an analysis of my life, and it led me to say, like, I really want to work with people. I knew that. And the things that I was good at and what I wanted to share with the world. And it really kind of unfolded for me. It blossomed. And then after that, I realized that I wanted to learn more of the knowledge, get more knowledge. And I went to get my master's degree in Ayurvedic science and integrative medicine. I became a health coach. I went to IIN. I studied as much as I could to expand my own knowledge, my own intuition, my own innate knowledge that I had. And even from growing up, I was raised by my grandmother mainly, who is, like I was sharing before, she's a wise woman from India. She had so much intelligence within her and knowledge that she had shared with us just as the way she existed and lived, that then I was able to just share with other people. And it was just like a way of life, really. So it was such a beautiful experience to allow that unfolding to happen. But I had to get out on my own way to do that.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think especially young people listening will find this probably both encouraging and terrifying. Was it terrifying to you for a while to go from thing to thing?
Yes, absolutely. And I honestly felt very embarrassed because there was a lot of my friends who had already graduated from,
your medical. Yeah, your doctor, your friends are doctors. You're like, hello, Dr. Smith or whatever.
Yep. And I'm, sleeping in my parents' basement, figuring it out, I had started company after company, and some were decently successful. Some were total failures. And, it was just a lot of fumbling that was going on. But I really honor myself in the space that I was holding for the fumbling to happen. Because it wasn't just me saying, okay, you have to do this, figure it out, go and do this. It was like, okay, here are all of the options, things that you've been interested in a while, explore them and see. And I think it's really important that people give themselves that space and that time to actually do that, whether it's at, before college, after college, in between somewhere, or even on the side, to just have this exploration of what do I like and what don't I like? Look at that and just understand yourself.
Yeah, well, and I can imagine having gone to undergrad and then done, it sounds like 3 or 4 years of medical school. That's a lot of cash.
That's a lot of cash. I had a lot of loans.
No, it seems like on top of everything else in terms of your friends and colleagues, and obviously to get into medical school, you're hanging with, and New York City, you're with the best and brightest, right? So we lived in New York for a long time, Upper West Side, and it's a bubble. It is no joke. It's a bubble. And so I can imagine the sense, like you say, of social pressure from your peers. And then on top of having that kind of I would expect hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot. That's pressure, girl.
Tons and tons of debt. Yeah. And I had no idea how I was going to pay it back. I didn't know what I was going to, what was going to happen. And it was after a while that I had actually started working in tech, and I was making six figures at that time too.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was paying back my student loans, and I was realizing like it would take me forever to do this, even making a hefty, salary.
Six-figure salary. Yeah.
It just wasn't going to happen at any kind of, rate. It was going to be like 20 years down the road, and I would continue to kind of have this hanging on my back. And that was actually one of the motivations for me to create my own business, because I realized when I create my own business, I'm in charge. Yes, I'm responsible for my successes, but I'm also responsible for my failures. And there's no ceiling. When you have a salary, even if you're making six figures, guess what? You work 95 hours that week and you're still making six figures. You're always hitting the same kind of thing. And it's not like that when you're an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of risk, but there's a lot of reward that comes with it.
Yeah, for sure. So, so was it really just tapping into the Ayurvedic tradition that was so present in your life growing up that like you said, you wanted to be with people? Something inside of you obviously was interested in healing and entrepreneurship, but it sounds like those are the dots that connected that got you on a manifestation and like serious healing track.
So my grandmother had talked to us about manifestation in different words, but it was the same topics since we were very young. She was one of the best manifestors I had ever met in my life.
Really? Okay. Yeah. What are some of the big things that she pulled off?
She moved to America, 35 years ago, very easily. I'll tell you that. She was able to there was one time I remember we would go to India every summer and kind of like spend the summer. She lived in America, but we would go to India with her for like 3-4 months of the summer season.
Where in India?
Tamil Nadu, so South India.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we would spend the season with her there, and she would just be able to manifest and call into existence whatever we want. We would tell her like, hey, we want to, try this. And she'd be like, oh, okay, cool. And it'd be like the next day, all of a sudden we walk into wherever we're going and someone's like, hey, did you want to try this? And we're like, what? And she's
so cool.
Kind of giggles. Or there was this one time she was looking for a specific kind of pot. It was like a flower pot, a vase, but it was like looked like an elephant, a terracotta pot that was like an elephant. And we had gone to all these places and she couldn't find it. And she was like, oh, okay, I just know what I have to do. And she literally almost meditated on it for a few minutes and thought about it. And she was like, I know it's already mine. We'll make room in the suitcase for it. And I was like, this is weird. What are you talking about, crazy old lady? And it was like the next day it just appeared. And we had gone everywhere looking for this elephant pot,
Yeah, she finally was like, all right, I got to pull out my Jedi mind trick, because this whole linear reality of going from place to place in 3D is not working. I gotta, summon the spirits. Sorry, go ahead.
No, she was just super powerful. And it just really dawned on me that you can be powerful and live the life that you choose, right? I think a lot of times people think that, okay, if you're powerful, then you're going to be living in a mansion and driving a Rolls Royce and doing this and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, you don't understand, because different people want different things in their life, and there's different levels of joy and satisfaction.
Oh, it's really all about Thank you. Because you're right. I feel like so many people are so misguided with this idea of manifestation, what it should be in air quotes. And honestly, I was having this discussion just yesterday with my husband. I'm somebody who is passionate about manifestation, but for me, it's manifesting from the inside out. And it's like, if you got love, and not to be too Pollyanna-ish or whatever, but it's like, you got love, you got kindness, you've got gratitude and joy and peace. It's like, okay, you're 99% of the way there. You also want a fancy house or something else, great. But I'm with you. And to me, what I've experienced in my own life, because I had a lot of the outside stuff, but I struggled with the inside stuff. And that's the case with a lot of people, right? I have friends that are billionaires that are they are not happy folk. They've got the prestige, they've got the status, fancy cars, and they're not very happy campers. So I love that you're talking about how your grandmother sounds like just a cool woman who lived large in her own way, not in the way that you think, when you typically think manifestation. And I love that so much.
Yeah, it's truly all about fulfillment, and what fulfills you.
Real fulfillment.
Yeah, and not everybody loves avocado, and there's some people that really love avocado. It's a different choice that you make in your life, and that's the thing. And I did the same thing. Like when I first understood manifestation, I went the polar opposite of, I think, how I live my life now. With I had all of the fancy things, all of the fancy cars, the very, very expensive shoes and the clothing and all of that stuff, because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. The apartment in New York City and all of this stuff. And it just, at some point I realized, wait a second, all of this stuff isn't making me happy. This is not what I want.
That's it. I mean, I feel like you can drive the fancy car around with a broken heart. You can walk into your fancy apartment with your fancy shoes, feeling sad and depleted. It's like, those don't feel, I mean, they can, like, you buy it and you feel a little excited, but that feeling wears off, where this feeling of peace and internal fulfillment that, sure, it can ebb and flow throughout the day, from day to day, things, challenges come up and so forth. But I just think about, like, what really matters, as cliche as it is. It's like, do I feel joyful, peaceful, grateful most of the time? If so, damn, I've won the prize. Like, that to me is a prize.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also for me, it really dawned on me that I didn't want to have all of these fancy things, but not really have that sense of fulfillment and that sense of purpose. And that's when I really started to shift things. And I think that the way that I live now is really focused on my priorities and what is important to me. And a lot of that is based on time freedom. So it's not about the things, but it's about the time. So
talk about that, because I think that's a really big deal to a lot of people. I mean, especially people that are maybe more financially well off, but it's like they can't enjoy the fruits of their labor and so forth. So what do you mean by that? Like, time freedom?
Time freedom. I can do whatever I want, pretty much whenever I want. We've made the choice to homeschool our children, and that is a very time intensive thing sometimes. And we have created the time and the space to do that. Every year we choose to go on vacation. This year, actually, earlier, a few months ago, we went to Fiji for 5 weeks with my whole entire family, and that's like, even having a traditional job, making lots of money, whatever the case is, you can't just pick up and leave for 5 weeks. There's got to be, like, all of these other things coming along with you. And it was nothing like that. We said, we're going to go. We wanted to learn about Fijian and counting in Fiji and eating their food and hanging out with the kids over there. And we said, yep, we're going. So it's like, really, that's the way that I like to manifest.
Oh my God, that is awesome. You're a goddess. Like, 5 weeks in Fiji with the kids and the hubby and the others. I mean, that is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really choosing. We get to choose what it is that we want.
On like this idea of living life on your terms, right? And that, I feel like we all have the power. And I say we all have the power. I believe it in my heart of hearts. I think few people understand they actually have that power or feel comfortable even giving themselves that permission.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I teach, right? I teach empowerment for people to understand how powerful they are. It's not that I have a magic spell that I say upon you and now you're a manifester. You're already a manifester.
That magic spell.
You're already a manifester. It's just a matter of you really being able to focus your thoughts and understanding your priorities so you can then design your life the way that you want. And a lot of times people will feel like, hey, there's these blocks in my life. This is what's going on. I'm blocked. And it's about realizing that the only true block is you. Once you're allowing yourself to be a little bit more pliable, you're like water. You flow around any obstacle put in front of you. There is nothing that can stand in your way. When you have a goal that you're going towards, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, but let me push back there a little bit, because I am a little bit recovering achievement junkie. I was unstoppable. I achieved a lot, but I sure as heck wasn't taking 5 weeks to Fiji. In fact, I've talked openly about, I didn't take a honeymoon when I got married. I didn't take a maternity leave with either kid, missed weddings, missed a lot of my life because I was so focused on the goal. And as much as I achieved, it came at a gigantic personal cost, right? So I don't think it's so much about just having the goal. It's like, what's motivating you to get, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I absolutely get what you're saying. Because guess what? We might be twins, I
feel that. Oh, good. I want to be more like you and go on Fiji for 5 weeks.
I'll tell you what shifted my focus. So I was doing exactly that. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was making all the money, doing all the things, and really like allowing my business to kind of control me rather than me like being in control of my business and having that time freedom. Then suddenly my father passed away. Boom, just like that. Within 2 months, he was diagnosed with cancer. Within 2 months, he was gone. And it
Oh,
was such
sorry.
thank you, but it was such a shock to my system at the time that I was like, what? And to
How old
me,
was he?
he was 74, which seemed so
Oh, so
young to me.
young. Yeah, no, definitely young. Yeah. I mean, we're expecting our parents to live into their 90s.
But guess what, Andrea? When I looked it up, guess what the average age of life in the US is? 74.
Is it really? I thought it was 80 something.
And it's crazy to me, and it just dawned on me that I was like, he's so young and he just died like that, And I was like, wait a second, no, I don't want this for my life. I don't want to continue to create all of this and then not actually be able to experience what I want to experience. And that was the year that everything kind of shifted for me. And I said, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm actually choosing how I want to spend my time, because guess what? Time is more valuable than anything else that ever existed.
Well, yeah, I mean, 100%. And oh my gosh, so many of us failed to get that message either ever or late. It's like we're so busy with the hustle and the grind and the proving ourselves and getting that, what I call manifesting from the outside in, getting the stuff, the car, right? Versus saying, dang, my time here is short and I need to savor it, right? On my terms. And that's, back to the beginning of our discussion. It takes a lot of guts to say, I'm going to savor my life on my terms, right? Because we're all kind of conditioned to live our lives on others' terms and society's terms.
Yeah. You got to kind of figure out what's going to actually make you happy. But I just, it was a wake up call for me. It was my father passing away, that it was like, I just felt like I would have more time with him to do more things, and the things were never done. Right. So I was like, I'm going to do the things now. And I talk to my clients a lot, all the time, and they're telling me that this is kind of like something that's awakening in a lot of people. Like, why are we working and draining ourselves our whole life to then be free at 65, 70 years old to then actually do the thing that we want to do? In September, I joined the El Camino. So I'm going to be walking 100 miles in Spain as a pilgrimage. And largely this is done by retirees. And yes, it's 100 miles and it's challenging and all of this stuff. But it was just weird to me that people would wait till the end part of their life, the last couple decades
to really say, hey, okay, it's like I've made it. Now I'm going to give myself permission to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. When it comes to your work, you talk a lot about shadow work. Will you talk about what shadow work is and why that's so important?
Yeah, shadow work is important because it's the foundational work of manifesting. I'll say that everybody has shadows, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but the way that I teach it is that you have to understand your shadows so that when they do pop up in your life, you don't just allow them to take the wheel and for them to be in control and things to just go on default. Rather, if a shadow that I have is around, let's say, self-worth, that when that idea of, am I worthy of taking this job promotion comes up, I really step forward and I say, I really want this for myself. I'm gonna step into my worthiness rather than allowing my shadow to come up and say, no, you're not worthy, don't apply. Right.
So is shadow work the same as like trauma work and healing from your emotional wounds, would you say, or is it different?
Similar. And there's a lot of names to it too. Before it's been called inner child healing. It's called wound work and stuff like that. It's got a bunch of different names. But, it's really about understanding yourself and your own limiting beliefs so that you can then surpass them. And this is not to say that you then have no shadows, you have no limiting beliefs. Not at all. It's just that you understand them. So when they pop up, you can identify them. Oh, that's my limiting belief. Oh, that's my shadow. And then continue on your way. Right.
Mm-hmm. So what are the most, what are the most effective ways to do that? Because I'm hesitating because I think like in traditional psychotherapy, it's like, oh, you're on your therapist's couch for 20 years talking about your rotten childhood. And everyone's like, no, we don't want to do that. And honestly, it's not even that effective in a lot of cases, most cases, I think. So how do people is it possible to do shadow work efficiently?
Absolutely. 100% you can do it efficiently. And I mean, I literally teach it all the time, right? And it sometimes can start as gently as just answering some questions. You answer some shadow work questions around whatever kind of topic you're looking into. And there's many like generalized shadow work questions too that you can just start to open.
What are two of the key ones for people listening that if they started to ask themselves right after this podcast?
Okay. So these are actually 3 questions that I had just recently wrote for my group coaching program, which is called The Journey. So I'll read them to you and, we can kind of go from there. So the first one is, what fears or limiting beliefs do I carry that block me from fully stepping into my divine power and purpose? And it's a very open and generalized question, right? It's not giving you any kind of direction or siloing you into anything. It's just saying like, hey, what do you think your fears are? What are your limiting beliefs, right, that are stopping you? What are they? Write them down. Because sometimes we might have ideas that I'm so limited, I'm so blocked in my head. But then when we write it down, it's like 2 things. And we're like, what? Well, that seems so tense in there. But it's like when we just put it on paper, pen to paper, it seems not so intense, right? And the question, that question is really to help you to reveal what's holding you back from truly up-leveling and embodying your highest self.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's the next one?
Question number 2, in what ways might I be rejecting or ignoring the wisdom of my ancestors or spiritual guides out of fear, pride, or disbelief? Now, this question actually helps to open space for any kind of ancestral healing to happen, generational trauma to be uncovered, to get some more guidance and actually even some reconnection to happen there. Okay. And the third question is, where in my life am I still trying to manifest from a place of ego, control, or survival rather than surrender, trust, and alignment? And
say that one again. So that's hitting home. That's hitting hard. Say it again.
Okay. Where in my life am I still trying to manifest from a place of ego, control, or survival rather than a place of surrender, trust, and alignment? And this question really helps to uncover any kind of misalignment that exists between your current self and your divine path. So yeah, like those are just 3 basic questions, that kind of come up. And the thing about these shadow work questions is that you probably won't have an intense breakthrough answering one of these questions. I'm going to be straight up with you, right?
Okay.
You answer these questions, and then it just kind of brings it to the forefront of your mind, and it's rolling around in there. And then like a week later, you're doing something, you're mowing the lawn, you're taking a shower, and it's like, boom, something else opens up for you. And it's like a slight opening. So with these questions and your honesty and your opening happens, it's a little opening. Then something else happens, a little more. You keep working on it, and it allows you to have some more light coming into you, for you to actually see your shadows and understand that they are not as scary as you make them out to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. It feels like there's an initiation there, a real curiosity that, like you say, that you deliberately make space for these things versus, which is so common for so many of us, just keeping it contained, keeping it shut down, right behind the wall, where it can wreak no havoc. Meanwhile, it's wreaking havoc, like all day long. And then, so people can start asking those questions. It's, the light starts to filter in, things start to open up. For the really type A listeners among us, what if you want to accelerate that healing? What are some of the practices you recommend?
If you want to accelerate the healing, I'd recommend you to slow down.
Snap. That's the ninja move. I want to accelerate. Nope, go slow, surrender. Oh, I hate it when you tell me that.
Yeah. And that's usually what it is, because we're so like, in the space of pushing against, when we can realize like, wait a second, if we just step away for a moment from it, stop applying the force, it just opens up for us, So,
yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot in the business that I run at YourTango. Go slow to go fast. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it feels like it can be a little bit of a truism, and then it's like, oh no, it actually works. But so I get that. But as far as like you're a big advocate for meditation, and I mean, there's a lot of somatic work that people do that can. I guess a side effect is that it can accelerate the healing. Maybe it's deepen the healing. Are there any other healing practices that really can help people come to terms with those shadow parts of ourselves? I mean, to your point, like, if you're feeling unworthy, it doesn't matter if you're doing affirmations and vision boarding all day long. If fundamentally you can't accept abundance because you don't feel worthy of it, it feels like it's kind of a lesson in futility.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things about that, slowing down that I was mentioning absolutely includes meditation. I think that meditation can support people in their journey profoundly. And it's literally you sitting quietly. It's something that you can do at any time in any place. And just really creating a routine around it can be truly life-changing. It was for me. I grew up with meditation. Since I was a little kid, my family meditated and things like that. And I will say that it wasn't until I was probably in my late teens, 20s kind of thing, that I really took it on for myself. And I started to practice transcendental meditation. And that's what really shifted my whole mindset and my whole life. And being from this chaotic space of, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, to understanding that everything is really, truly open. But I had to stop trying to be that type A person, pushing against it, wanting to go faster. I need to do harder. I need to go, and just saying I'm going to pause and just allow. There was a large part of my life in which I'm deeply spiritual. So I would pray to God and be like, God, I need an answer. I need help here. What's the next step?
Let me do your job for you. How funny is that, right? Let me do your job for you. Let me tell you what I need.
Don't laugh. This space of asking all of these questions through prayer, right? And I'd be like, I'm not really getting anything. I don't know. I'm not hearing the answer. Okay, cool. But then it dawned on me that it's through meditation that we actually can receive the answer, right? It's like prayer and meditation is having the conversation. So with prayer, we might be asking the questions or giving the thanks or whatever the case is. But in meditation, that's where we're sitting in silence to receive. We're receiving.
I love that.
We're receiving whatever kind of knowledge there is, whatever kind of answers we've been searching for. All of it comes through if we just take the time to be in stillness.
Yeah, taking time to be in stillness is so underrated. It is something that I've been doing a lot lately. I mean, I also meditate every day and journal and all these other practices, but I've added stillness. I didn't want to say a practice, literally just sitting and being quiet and letting my thoughts flow by. I a couple times a day. It is I was telling my husband, I'm like, I tingle when I do it. He's like, what? But it feels so good, right? And again, when you're going a million miles an hour, even if you are meditating, you're doing something that you're concentrating, to sit in stillness. And especially as, working moms, I think they're probably like, lady, shut up, because I don't have time for that. And I'm like, but if you do that, I mean, back to your point of if you can slow down a little bit and create that space and peace inside of yourself, that it is amazing what that does, how it supercharges you. But I love your point about prayer too. And I've interviewed a lot of people in the manifestation space. I've done a lot of in my own life, and you don't really hear that much about prayer in the context of manifestation. But I love that because everybody's saying, set your clear intentions. And to me, what I'm going ding, 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 in connecting the dots is setting your clear intention is a form of prayer. Right. Or, those two, it feels like they go hand in hand. Like you're saying, you're putting it out there. You're kind of having this discussion, and depending on, what spiritual tradition you come from, whether it's, more of a anthropomorphic kind of Christian God, or more of a pantheistic kind of or, universe, you name it. This idea of putting it out there, having that intention to put it out there and feel connected, and then using meditation and silence to receive it that's cool. I really like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's, I want to shift into, there's so many things I want to cover. You talk a lot about, the importance of feminine energy, which is something I've tapped into a lot. And again, as a very type A woman who over-indexed for her masculine forever, because I had to make it happen. I had to get it done. I think you can probably relate. What do women need to know about the feminine energy, and why is it so important to embody feminine energy?
Yeah, I think it's important to really step into your feminine energy and allow yourself to receive, because there's only so much that we can be in this space of creating structure, going forward, or pushing ourselves, when energetically, biologically, all of the reasons, we're not necessarily meant to be 100% in our masculine energy, right? And this is when I'm saying energy, it means a woman can carry masculine and feminine energy. We do.
Well, both all genders carry both, and men who don't, I'm going to say this, I don't care if I get in trouble. Men who have a complete deficit of feminine energy, those are the toxic masculine dudes, right?
I think it's someone that's imbalanced.
Yeah, and not don't want to shame or judge, but if you don't have some of that sort of feminine, able to kind of be open and receptive, it feels like you're to your point, you're out of balance, and that creates its own dysregulation and chaos. So, okay, so keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like when we allow ourselves to understand how to receive and be in flow, receiving and being in flow are both feminine characteristics, right? That just opens up a whole new world for us. It takes us from that space of pushing and wanting to accelerate to really understanding, like, wait a second, for us to go further, it's to be in stillness. So when we're here and we're receiving, we can get much further without it being this weight that we're carrying with us.
And how do you recommend women, particularly women like us, who tended more toward that masculine trait? And by the way, I feel like that masculine energy gets rewarded in our society in a very big way in women. And then it gets vilified, right? But that's a whole other, it's like totally politicized. That's a whole other topic. So how do you recommend women tap more into their feminine?
Be creative. Do things that light you up, that spark you in your creativity, whether that looks like you being in flow in dance, whether that looks like you doing some, artistic thing, painting or creating or whatever it is, or cooking a meal in a beautiful manner that feels good to you. And I'm not talking about I make breakfast, lunch, and dinner for my kids. Yeah, I get that. And
yeah, that's checking a box. That's like you're doing your administrative task. It feels like it's the energy with which you pursue it. So you're saying do these creative things that you enjoy, but that you enjoy is key.
Yeah, and really set the intention to be open to receiving in your life, right? And the places that you do receive, acknowledge it. That's really important as well. It's not just that it's happening, but that you're acknowledging that it's happening. Where we're putting our focus continues to grow and expand in our life. So whether it is you receiving, a compliment from someone, or someone is holding the door open for you, or you get a free cup of coffee, or, you get tickets to something that was sold out and you're so excited about it, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that came from the intention that you set from your own power.
Yeah. And if so much of that, even listening to you speak, I feel like ends up coming back to this, what can be a very vicious cycle of, if you don't feel like you're worthy, it's tough to receive. Somebody tells you, you look great. You're like, that old thing. Right. And you have, this is for me too. I used to have a very tough time asking for help. And, it's like, no. I'm that really dumb old school mentality of like, I can do it all. And doesn't that make me great if I can do it all? Even if it means, I burn out. And it's like, well, that's misguided.
Yeah. And being in your feminine energy is not about burnout at all. It's about you allowing your life to actually unfold in front of you and stopping trying to run ahead of it and, rip things open. It's like, just allow it to go.
Yeah. No, I think of those two as completely polarities. I feel like if you're really in your feminine energy and you're receiving, and there is it's like just such a great feeling as a woman to just go, oh yeah, that feels like the ugly opposite of, or that, burnout is the ugly opposite of that, because that's pushing and like having to achieve and prove versus, okay, here I am ready to receive, showing up with joy and so forth. Okay. So speaking of tickets, you have a great story about manifesting the most amazing man in the world. Were you, and I want you to tell it, but I have to ask you, were you conscious of trying to manifest love and an amazing husband when that story happened? I just want to start with that.
Yes, I was. And I'll share this. I will share this. Prior to me meeting my husband, I was previously married, and it ended in divorce, and it was messy. It involved cheating and infidelity. It was just like gross. Right. And yeah. And I had been single for many, many years after that, close to a decade afterwards. And during that time, I had encountered many lovely people. I dated. I had a lot of situationships. And there was one time that I was with a particular situationship, and we had these very clear terms on what our interactions involved. He was an artist, and we would meet up for the weekend, have an amazing weekend. We'd talk about art and creativity and all of this stuff. And then we would go our separate ways until maybe the next time we'd meet up. And there's this one weekend that we were meeting up, and he said, hey, I have to leave early on Sunday. I'm going to go meet up with, I don't know what the name was, Emily, let's just say. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And of course, I had no stake in the game. I couldn't say anything. Don't go meet up with this person, whatever. But I felt a pang in my heart. And I knew in that moment that I no longer wanted the situationship, right? I knew in that moment that I wanted something that was long-term sustainable, that I could grow, that I could create, that was monogamistic. And that day in that hotel room, I sat down, I think it was like a Hilton or something, took out that notepad that they leave on your desk and that pen and wrote down exactly what I wanted in a future partner. And for 3 months, I sat very diligently. I ended my situationship respectfully. He went on his way, I went on mine. We're still friends to this day. And he's friends with my husband too. And, I diligently knew that this person was coming for me and I had to create space. So I had to end that. And I had to focus on exactly what it is that I wanted. Now, during this time, it was like a 3-month period. It was like at the end of November, right around Thanksgiving time, I was open, completely open in my feminine energy, allowing what was going to come my way to come my way. And this opportunity came to me to buy a home in Florida. I lived in New York City at the time. I had this opportunity to buy a home in Florida. It was a home that was going to go into foreclosure and be bank owned and whatever. And it was kind of like, you want it or not? I said, okay, I'll take it. No idea what I was going to do with the home. And I moved down to Florida. I moved down.
Oh my God, that's a crazy story.
But I allowed it to just kind of unfold and happen. I moved down to Florida. I think it was like early February.
Did you have friends in Florida or family?
I did have a couple of friends, but it wasn't really like, anything. I just knew some people that lived in Miami, but I didn't even live in Miami. I lived in West Palm Beach at the time. Like,
that's so nice there. Okay.
So, I was kind of like in this space of like, I'm just going to allow it and flow with it. So I bought a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom house. It was a big house for a single girl, right? I was totally overwhelmed by it. Stuff was breaking. I had no idea what was going on. It was obviously kind of like a little derelict. Needed a lot of fixing up. No idea. I was out of my skill set on this, right? Trying to do everything myself. I felt completely overwhelmed. And I remember particularly it was Wednesday. I said, ooh, I feel extremely overwhelmed in this. I need to shift my energy. I'm going to take the day off and I'm going to go to an art gallery because I love art. I'm an artist myself. I absolutely love art. I love talking about it, being in it, looking at it, everything. Took the day off. It was a Wednesday, went to an art gallery. And in the parking lot of that art gallery, I saw my future husband. He's very tall. He was like moving across where the cars were, like parked his car and was walking towards the front door. And it was like something in me just went like, bing. And I was like, what is going on? Like what is happening? And I could see him. And I was just like, oh, whoa, that guy looks like everything that's on my list. And I was like, this is interesting. Walked to the front door. He held the door open for me. And of course I was like in my feminine energy, right? Being like, wow, this is really cool. Look at me receiving this, like he's holding the door open for me. I'm receiving and I'm receiving this. This is awesome. I go up to the front desk and they had I thought the tickets were $10 that day per person, but they said, hey, for students, it's $5. And I had my $10 bill in my hand ready to pay. And the lady at the front desk, I told her, hey, I'm a student. And she said, okay, cool. And she said, what about the guy behind you, your friend? And I said, oh, him? Yeah, he's a student too. And here's $10. I'm going to buy us both the tickets. And she immediately said, oh, that's so kind of you. And to buy him his ticket. I said, oh, it's okay. He's going to buy me dinner later. No problem. And the guy behind me just kind of looked at me. He's like, ah. And we walked away from the desk. I gave him his ticket. I said, hey, man, I'm just doing a random act of kindness. Like, don't worry about it. You don't have to buy me dinner. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know about buying you dinner around here, but I would love to make you dinner sometime because I'm a professional chef. And that was it. And we have been together ever since. We spent the whole day at the art museum. And honestly, I could not stop thinking about him. And everything just kind of expanded from there.
That is a crazy freaking story. I mean, that is a crazy story. And just because I only stalk you a little bit, how you describe your relationship with him. It's not just you found your husband, you found this incredibly amazing man that you clearly adore, that clearly adores you. You guys have your 3 little babies together. But that is an amazing, amazing story.
Yeah. And he's the perfect partner for me, right? It's like we work together so well. We fit together so well. And it was all the characteristics in a person that I knew that I wanted, that I knew that I needed, that could support me the best was there, and knowing how to cook was definitely on my manifestation list for my partner.
I was going to say, what else was on that list? I mean, okay, so he's tall and good looking. Fine. We all want, those external traits. But what were the other things that you really just felt like helped you home in to get the one? Because you got the one. Good job, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for that too, right? And it's that some of the things on that list involved the things that I that failed in previous relationships. So I was very analytical.
Smart. Yeah,
right?
very
So
intentional.
Let's say my previous marriage, it was not monogamistic, right? It was very much open and, a lot of cheating involved. So rather than me saying on my list, I want someone who doesn't cheat, I wrote on my list a faithful partner.
Really,
right?
yeah.
And that's exactly what I have. I wanted someone that knows how to cook. Did I want necessarily a chef? No, but it's a nice perk,
Yeah. Totally.
Every day, it's like amazing. I knew that I wanted someone that wanted children. I knew that I wanted to create a family in the future, so I wanted someone that intentionally wanted children, right? And I needed someone that was open-minded and into different things and into a healthy way of life. And that's exactly, who came my way. I also really wanted someone that was thoughtful and loved me for who I am. And I remember it was like one of our second dates or third dates or something like that. I had gotten really sick with the flu. And he came over to my house at the time, that big house I'm talking about. And I was telling him, I'm so overwhelmed with this house. I really want to start a garden in the backyard. Like all of my ideas kind of coming out. And he had really heard what I was saying. And that day, as I was sick, he brought me homemade chicken noodle soup. He was like, here you go. And a bunch of herbs to start my garden, And it was those little things. It was so intentional, so thoughtful. It was so caring that it was like, oh, look at this. I'm receiving here and I'm allowing it to come forth.
That is just awesome. You're aura farming to me. I'm just taking in your aura right now. Wow. I mean, that's so inspiring. Are you still in the same house?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm and she got the house because she needed 3 extra bedrooms for the 3 babies. And then, all that.
No, I will say that we loved that house and we had it for many years. And then, when COVID happened and the prices of homes in Florida skyrocketed, we no longer lived there. And we were like, let's go. So, yeah, we had sold that house for a nice little overage.
Oh, my God. You are amazing. I am so very, very impressed. Okay. So you clearly have, back to the beginning of the conversation, tapping into your own intuition, buying this house, calling in the one, really the one for you. So on your site, you talk about the clairs and your psychic senses. I am fascinated with the combination, kind of going from just having some degree of intuition to this idea of, and you say it too, like we're all psychic. So talk about that a little bit, and how can we all become more intuitive? And then what are your favorite clairs, and how can we all tap into our clairs a little bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and what are clairs? People are like, what is she talking about? Okay, clairvoyant, but go ahead.
Yes. So the clairs are just really our different senses and how we perceive them. So there's like clairsentient, people just having this knowing, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairgustient, when people can eat.
Are those real words? Because clairvoyant, we all know, but is clairgustient really a word? Are you going to make that up?
Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. Yes,
but it's really a word. Oh, okay. And clairsentient, I've never heard that word.
Yeah, it's like this this ability to just really truly know. So the clairs are really like our intuitive senses, right? It's how we can receive information. It's our senses. So just like we touch, we taste, we see, it's how we can receive information beyond the physical itself. It's like our psychic gift, our psychic senses. So yeah, there's like clairvoyance, which is our clear seeing, clairaudience, which I was saying, clear hearing. When I was telling the story about my husband, I was like, oh, I heard a bing. That's my clairaudience coming through. Right? It's like you're intuitively hearing your guidance, your messages, whatever, the sounds that aren't necessarily heard by the physical, but it's perceived. It's coming through, and that's how we're perceiving it. I perceived it as a ding. So that's the clairaudience sense. There's clairsentience, which is the sense of like just clear feeling. Like it's just like a sense of knowing energy, emotions, or sensations of your body. There's claircognizance, which is the clear knowing. There's clairalliance. I might be pronouncing this wrong, but that's the clear smelling. I have that sense, and I know that my husband is very much in tune with it as well. And this is like when you can smell the sense that is like a spiritual significance. Like you might smell like your past loved one's perfume somewhere out of nowhere, or a specific flower or something like that. It's often linked to mediumship or like just understanding that there's a spiritual presence around you. And then clairgustance, which I was saying earlier, which is the clair of clear tasting, essentially. So and my husband is very good at this as well, as he's a chef, right? So it's you taste something that's not of a physical source, but it's that you have developed that skill so much. So it's often related to kind of like maybe a spiritual memory or a message that's coming through to you through the sense that you're perceiving it as a taste, right? And everybody has access to these clairs, but it's usually that one or two of them are better trained within us. So it's like more dominant in you itself. So, and they can all be developed with more practice as you're practicing and developing anything, just like a muscle, right? You go to the gym and you're working on your biceps, you get a big bicep. So you're working on, your ability to have claircognizance, and that you're starting to just take in more information on it. So it really depends on where you're putting your effort.
Mm-hmm. So I think all of us would benefit from greater intuition. And I don't know which of the clairs intuition is, but like just kind of trusting that sense, right? And a lot of times I think we get in trouble because we don't. So how do we develop, and I think of a continuum between trusting more versus trusting that intuition and trusting yourself. So are there any specific practices that you recommend to kind of cultivate that greater sense of trust and intuition, trusting ourselves?
So the top two things that literally anybody can do is, one is setting the intention to grow your clair, to understand that it's going to, have a bigger gift for you, but really being intentional about it. You can even state it, you can write it. My intention today is to work on my clairvoyance, my ability to really like have this clear seeing. My intention today is really to work on my clairsentience, to have that sense of feeling come through, right? The second thing is that when it is safe to do so, for you to actually follow that intuitive guidance. When you have something come through and you're working on your clairsentience and it feels like there's a sensation in your body and it is calling you in a direction or another direction, or you're getting some sense of guidance, follow it, right? It's just allowing you to then like step into something that you're giving a little bit more trust to, And as you do that, it starts to grow and you're able to lean on it more and more.
Yeah, your gym analogy is a good one, where it becomes that being intentional, practicing it. And then, to me, it's kind of back to trusting it as it develops versus self-sabotaging and say, well, I can't trust this. But how do you know when you can trust your intuition and when you can't? I mean, that can be hard for people, right?
Yes. And I would always recommend that you trust your intuition when it's safe to do so, right? So if my intuition is telling me to make a left at this sign, but it's a one-way road, I'm not going to do that.
Right, yeah.
And it's really like then perceiving yourself and understanding, wait, is this my ego or is it my intuition? Because you want to be able to follow your intuition. You don't want to be following your ego. If your ego's saying, make that left turn anyways, go it's on that way street or whatever, you'd be like, wait a second, I want to follow my intuition, not my ego. That's my ego pulling me in a direction that could be, potentially dangerous for me. So you want to...
Okay, but let's use, and I get that, but like, let's say you follow your intuition and you enter into let's say a bad marriage, right? I mean, I would say, just given the example that you're describing, somehow you followed an intuition that you were with somebody that was a good guy, and it turns out, not even, I don't want to judge your ex, but it wasn't a good marriage, right? Like it sounds, it was, a lack of fidelity and so forth. So what do you tell your clients who are like, oh my gosh, I followed my intuition and it led me into a marriage where there is betrayal?
There's a lot of times that we'll follow our intuition, and it's for our greater purpose. So that first marriage that I had, though it wasn't the end all be all, it was part of the journey. And I learned so much through it and through that experience, and my intuition.
Interesting. So you followed it, and even though you could say, well, that was a mistake, you're actually saying, oh, well, it wasn't a mistake. I needed to learn those things. I had to grow up a little bit. And let's face it, even, bad relation, bad, I don't want to, again, judge it, but it sounds like you want to say it was great. It's amazing to me how much challenging relationships teach us. And if we're open to those lessons, what a gift it is versus like, that person sucks, blah, blah, blah.
Well, when you're open to it, you're going to stop repeating them, right? It's when we're not open to it that we date the same person with a different face again and again and again. You keep having that ex that does the same thing, the person that doesn't communicate properly, the person that, whatever the story is. It's this repetition compulsion that we get caught up into. So it's a matter of really understanding why these lessons are coming. What did we learn from this relationship that was full of heartbreak and betrayal or whatever? What did we really learn about ourselves, about the situation, about what we do and don't want in our future relationships? And once we have that understanding, we can choose different and we can choose better.
Yeah. So what were the top things that you took away after your first marriage failed?
Oh, I took away that I wanted to be with someone that really was well entwined into my family. It mattered a lot to me. I really, really love my family, and I wanted someone that was fully like loved and accepted and integrated into my family. I knew that I wanted monogamy. That was just for me. And I know it's not for everybody,
but
it was for me, and that's what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be with someone that I could create a family with and have children with. And in that first relationship, that was not the case. And it was this process of me, trying to make excuses and be like, maybe I really don't want to be a mom one day, or maybe I really don't want to do this one day, or we can figure something else out, and it was like me wanting to settle for whatever reason. I wanted to really force something that was not meant to be space, right? And I wanted to shift myself to kind of make that happen. And it wasn't really meant to be.
But I'm going to ask you this, because what you're talking about are traits about him versus something that shifted inside of you. Because I feel like you could find somebody that's really family oriented, that's monogamous, that checks his boxes, but it's still not a good fit.
So those are all traits that I settled for, right? Those weren't the traits. It is the traits of the other person, but it's traits that I settled for in their existence. It wasn't that I said, wait a second, this person doesn't want this, doesn't want this, doesn't want this, and that's not aligned for what I want. Let me keep it moving. That's not what I did, right? So my big lesson there was really to learn what I wanted, so then I could then see it in different people. And like I said, between that period of me, my first partner, to my husband, there was like a lot of different people coming through on the other side, right? Like in between there. And I had to understand, like, okay, wait a second, this person is a heavy drinker, and that's not what I want. I want someone that lives a much healthier lifestyle. And then I would make a shift, and I'd say, you know what, I don't think that we're really on the same vibe. But it was the ability to understand that shifted within me. That's the huge shift. It wasn't, and it's not to, dog my first ex or whatever. Like, I have a lot of love for them. And
yeah.
That I learned through that process that really were profound.
Yeah. No, good for you. It's, because you often hear, to your point, you go from, if you don't do that work, it's the same relationship with a different person again and again. And it sounds like, dang, you mastered it, because your hubby sounds like just the like you say, the perfect match for you.
Yeah, he's great. And I think we have a lot of great communication and things like that. And that's not to say that our marriage is perfect. We have our ups and downs, of course, and we get through it because of the way that we are aligned. Our future goals are in alignment for what we want to create. We're very dedicated to our own family and to certain, sources that are outside of us. We have different philanthropical efforts that we are very much aligned in achieving. And all of that really, really matters.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, my last questions are around Ayurveda. I'm fascinated by that. And I lived in India in the late 90s. I worked for a company called Enron, for any of you guys who remember Enron, and just became fascinated with Ayurveda back then. And a lot of it was around food and herbs, but you say that it's so much more than that. So what do people that have a superficial view of Ayurveda or understanding of Ayurveda, what do we need to know? What are we missing? And how can we apply some Ayurvedic principles into our lives?
So I think that the popularity of Ayurveda, understanding it as food and herbs, is because of capitalism, right? What can I sell you? I can sell you food and I can sell you herbs. And the other thing is, like, Ayurveda is so much more than that. It's really the true combination of understanding our mind, body, and spirit. And yes, food and herbs support all of that. But in truth, it's like really understanding who you are and living your life in a certain way. It's more so of like your schedule of what time are you going to bed? What time are you getting up in the morning? How are you, bringing peace into your life? What are your levels of joy and communication with the people around you? All of that stuff matters. What is your own relationship to your source, your higher power, to the universe, to God? It's not just about what you're eating and what herbs you're having and what are the supplements you're taking. And yes, there's an aspect of that, but like you're saying, there's so much more to it. It's your whole life. It's not something that I can say, it's just this. Take this pill, and then you're done.
Well, so is there, when you think about, so on the one hand, I get that. It's like it is a whole lifestyle. Is there a Ayurvedic principle or two that's like, you know what, if you just took this principle away from Ayurveda, that could be beneficial?
I would say to really bring peace in your life and to bring it in all areas of your life. That would be the one thing that I could say, and that kind of seems broad, but it's like, it's truth. If you have peace in your digestion, if you have peace in your mind, if you have peace in your spirit, that's huge, right? If you can go to bed and fall right asleep at night and have nothing rolling around in your mind, that's amazing. Not many people can say that, right?
Listen, I am so on board with that. Again, super type A. I've only gotten at my age to a place where I have much more consistent, regular peace. And it's like, it is one of the most underrated traits and experiences, again, for working moms, but I feel like for so many Americans and, people across the globe that are just, it's like the hustle culture, the grind culture, the FOMO culture, I feel like is the antithesis to living peacefully. And the data, I mean, when I think having a grateful, peaceful heart, like there is powerful data that shows how that changes you physiologically. It impacts your relationships, like the ripple effect. So on the one hand, it's like, okay, boring. And at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, you want to be a ninja? Be peaceful. Right? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's like when you have peace and stillness within you, you're able to then move in any direction you want, rather than if you have like something jumbling within you, it's pulling you in some direction. And then you feel like, wait, there's not this alignment. I can't move in the manner that I want to move in.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I write my journal every day, and where I have challenges or some kind of conflict in my life, wherever it may be, I'll literally write down, I choose peace. Next, I'm way into heart-based meditation and so forth. I'll write, I choose coherence. I choose gratitude. And it is amazing to write those things down, to say them out loud. I mean, I can even feel myself physiologically right now speaking with you, where it's like, my body's like, oh yeah, that's what I want to, my body's saying, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear, Andrea, that you're choosing peace. And it really becomes a deliberate choice. And even just, we were talking about prayer. I mean, it feels like this business of prayer and stillness and peace, maybe what feel like kind of antiquated ideas are really back to at the heart of successful manifestation. I mean, it's nice to have the fancy car, the Birkin bag, all the stuff, but if it does feel like it really comes back to, what I call like manifestation from the inside out.
For sure. And it's you being able to build your life the way that you want. Because like I said, at one point, that was exactly what I wanted. I wanted the fancy places and the Birkin bags and the nice shoes and all of that stuff. And that's exactly what I want. So with manifestation.
And you got it. It sounds like you had a lot of that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And when I wanted things to shift for me and I wanted things to be different, I wanted to hang around different people and create a different life for myself, I then created that. It's like, you can have the life that you want. You can have all the lives that you want. You can experience whatever it is that you want. And sometimes, when I share my story with people, they're like, wait, you did all of this stuff and, you're not even 40 yet. And I'm like, yeah, because
I'm like you. Yeah. I'm like it's kind of rude for me to ask how old you are, but I'm like, she's done all this stuff. How old are you? Like, she's like the best preserved 70-year-old lady I've ever seen. No, you're not 70. But no. Okay. Thanks for telling me about your age.
Yeah.
You have done a lot as a young person.
Absolutely. I'm 38. I have no problem sharing with that with anybody in the world. But the thing is, like, it's like you can make a choice to live a certain life. And guess what? When you no longer want to do that and you want to change it, you can shift to something else. And that's okay. Right. I think sometimes people get stuck in the idea that I manifested this and this is the way that it must be. And then they're miserable in that manifestation. You can change it.
Yeah, no, I think that is the ultimate power move, is just to give yourself permission to shift. And as you grow, and to your point, like, you can have a lot of the material things and or whatever it is that you want. And then I feel like there's wisdom in saying, and I'm going to choose differently now. Right. And but it also takes courage, especially when you're surrounded by people that are kind of on one trajectory, and that tends to be a career trajectory or a material wealth trajectory. Back to your courage to leave medical school. It takes I feel like it just takes a lot of guts to live on your own terms.
I agree. I think it does. And that's partially why it took me so long to do it.
Well, it did take you that long. You're only 38. So holy smokes, you're way further than a lot of the people that are literally decades older than you. Oh my gosh, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you. I want to give you last word. Well, let me ask this. If you were Moses or Muhammad on the mountain and you had a tablet and you could say just one last thing, what would it be?
I would encourage people to get to know themselves. Take time to get to know you and what you love in the world and what you want to create and what you want to see, not only in your life, but on a grander scale. And then really pursue those things in your life. And you're going to find a lot of that fulfillment, that peace, that joy that maybe you don't feel right now.
Well, and that's what you've done. And it takes a lot of courage. And just even what you described, those early meanderings, while everybody else seemingly had it figured out, even if they didn't, they seem like they had it figured out. It takes courage to look within and make those choices. I love that. All right. Latha Jay, thank you so much. It was great to have you on Getting Open. I look forward to staying in touch and seeing you continue to do amazing things on social and in your work. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, what a great discussion that was. I love her. I just love her calm presence. What are the Claire? Like, she embodies a lot of the Claires, but the calm Claire. Like, I love just how calm and soothing and wise she is. Guys, I hope you loved the show and you got as much out of it as I did. And as always, please do follow and or like, subscribe, you name it. Make sure you're just getting open every single week with me and my amazing team. We bring the show to you with our full hearts, and we don't want you to miss an episode. As always, if you've got comments, whether you leave them in the comment section or you email me, I am always so grateful for the chance to hear from you. If you want to email me, it's gettingopen@yourtango.com. And finally, please do thumbs up, please rate the show. It always helps to get that interaction, helps set the algorithm to the highest vibe possible. Phew. Okay, that's it. We'll see you next time on Getting Open. Thanks for tuning in.